Welcome to Buckets. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I'm joined by senior NBA futures analyst Brandon Anderson. This is your NBA draft recap 2025. We'll talk about who won, who lost, who did well, who did not. What bets did we have? What bets did we lose? We'll talk about those. Plus, most importantly, we'll get into our way too early rookie of the year bets. We'll talk about all that and more on today's show. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe here at youtube.com/the Action Network. And make sure to download the Action Network app. You're going to find all sorts of cool stuff in there. So keep it in there. Track WNBA in there. You can get your football futures in early. All sorts of cool stuff. Check it out. The Action Network app. Brandon, let's start here. I'm just going to go ahead and just clear out. I'm going to go ahead and go to the corner and just act like I'm waiting for the ball while you tear the Brooklyn Nets into pieces. Do you want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets and their night?
I do want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets. What in the world are the Brooklyn Nets doing? They have 4 picks, then they trade. They get the extra pick from the Porzingis deal, taking on Trey Mann and a contract not a lot of people like. I know you like Trey Mann, the player, but they took on his contract, get a 5th pick. Everyone in the world is expecting, okay, well, you're not taking 5 draft picks tonight, right? Surely not. Surely you're going to trade out. Surely you're going to stash some guys. You're going to package them and move up. No, they use them. Okay, one of them, they take Drake Powell, a wing, a pretty good wing defender. Okay, sure. Not in my top 30. That's just my judgment. They took 4 point guards, in my opinion. Jaeger Demon at number 8, who I ranted about already yesterday, who is basically not a first-round talent to me, that I think is going to end up in Europe by the end of the contract. They go Nolan Traore at number 19, another international point guard, 2 dudes that can't shoot the ball and basically are pass first, pass only point guards. Traore looks like a pretty good defensive prospect. Demon's going to get demolished on defense. I don't even know if he's a point guard. Then, as we're joking about it, they finally take Drake Powell, but they have 2 more picks. They take Ben Suroff, another point guard who's over right now in Germany, waiting to play his championship game, I believe. And then 1 pick later, just for fun, Danny Wolf. Oh, good, a center. No, a point center. He's supposed to be Nikola Jokic. He is a passer. You take him to run your offense. They took 4 point guards in the same draft. Matt, I remember one year when a team I care about very much drafted 2 point guards in one draft, and everybody shredded them because it was Ricky Rubio and it was Johnny Flynn. And they were like, well, we can't take that other guy. He's just a shooter. We can't really have another point guard. He's just Steph Curry, no problem. The Nets took 4 first-round point guards. And to your credit, you always get on my case about stop with the Gregging on the teams about the draft picks, and you traded 4 picks for one guy, 5 picks for one guy. Picks are fake. Okay, I'm giving you this one. The Brooklyn Nets traded 5 picks tonight for Jaeger Demon, Nolan Traore, Drake Powell, Ben Suroff, and Danny Wolf. Give me like a decent rotation player. I guess I'd rather have that than 5 draft picks. I am truly baffled by, I don't understand what the Nets are trying to do here. I don't even know what they're trying to build. What do you think?
It's good to have ball handlers around Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Good to have ball handlers around Cam Thomas. Let's set up Cam Thomas for some shots.
I think Cam's going to take the qualifying offer.
Think so?
And I think, I think so. I think he thinks he can get more money in 2026. We'll see what happens. I don't know, man. Like, I will say every Nets player I thought by the end of the year had gotten better. So it's like, I actually think that Marks really believes in the development system. I am shocked that they made it. That they did. I think this is one of those interesting things where it's like, why didn't you trade these picks? And the answer is like, we tried and we couldn't find anybody that would give us what we wanted for them. Right. Because like, you can't just give them away, and you can try and swap them out for like later, but you have to be able to find the right deals, and they just weren't able to find them. So that to me is probably what happened there. And that, and we'll see kind of what happens, but I am really surprised. I'm surprised that I thought the Nets were going to do something way bigger and more interesting tonight. And I wonder if things were cooking and then just didn't happen. But you always have to have like the backup plans. And apparently these were them. I don't doubt your analysis. we'll come back to it when you're right or wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
but
I'll be honest. I honestly, I didn't have a lot of time to spend on the international class this year.
Sure.
I don't really know if I feel I have strong opinions on these guys. I know Nolan Traore was supposed to be a really high draft pick, and then his stock kind of slid a little bit this year. Jaeger Demon, I'm very low on, but we talked about how he was a really high variance guy all over the place. And all it takes is one team to be high on him. I know he was high on other boards on some of the mock drafts. What I will give Brooklyn credit for here is I say all the time, if you are a team like the Nets that is bereft of talent and doesn't have a plan, you should be taking home run swings. Okay, maybe that's what these are. Nolan Traore, possibly the best international player in the draft prospect from a year ago. Okay, home run swing. Danny Wolf, maybe he's Nikola Jokic. He's probably just not an NBA player, but that's okay. Home run swing, you have 5 picks, take some swings. Jaeger Demon, maybe you get a 6'8" point guard or whatever he is, throwing pat. Like one of them hits and you get a really good franchise player out of the 5, and it's still probably a pretty good draft outcome. So maybe that's the plan, is just, well, you know, like think of an NFL team that accidentally has 4 or 5 first-round picks and no quarterback. The Nets just kept drafting quarterbacks. Shedeur Sanders, come on down. We'll take you too. Just give us some more quarterback shots. Maybe that's the plan here, and we'll see how they turn out.
At the top of the draft, I kind of wanted to just give Brandon the opportunity to rant because I knew how fired up he was about the mistakes that the Nets made. And that's always good content. Top of the draft goes pretty chalk. It goes, we flag Harper. I said, I was like, I don't know. And like, no, they just took Harper. And then 3 goes VJ Edgecombe. They just took like the best player. Like it in retrospect, it's like, yeah, like the Sixers were always going to take VJ because VJ had kind of established himself as the 3rd best guy. It was clearly Flag. It was clearly Harper. It was clearly VJ. And then it got messier. And so good on the Sixers. I honestly think if you weren't tied to trying to win right now with Joel Embiid, I actually like, how much would you love the Sixers? Like if it was, and that's not to say that I'm not ragging on Joel. It's just like, he's a complicated figure and you have to like build around him and make room for him. He's an MVP versus like Maxey, Jared McCain, VJ, Quentin Grimes. Like that's pretty fun. That's a pretty fun group of guards. And now they have a pretty fun group of guards and still Paul George and Joel Embiid. So we'll see how that kind of works out. Con Knuppel goes 4. That one, I get it. I'm not thrilled about it. I want better things for the Hornets. I'm ready for the Hornets to like move into a different era and like shift. And they needed something that was going to shift them. And now it's like, we got LaMelo and Brandon Miller, and now Knuppel's going to be our shooter. And it's just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's a safe pick. I was just kind of uninspired by that. What are your thoughts on the top 4?
Yeah, I had just the same note. Obviously, we knew the top 2, both VJ at 3 and Knuppel at 4. Like I had those guys 5th and 6th on my board. I like them both. I think they're going to be good NBA players that, frankly, that I like a lot going forward for a long time. Those 2 picks just kind of leave me a little cold. Just a little bit cold on it's the 3rd and 4th pick. You want to take a swing on an upside, and I don't quite see the star upside. And at a top 5 pick, especially for Charlotte, I agree with you that like, all right, sure, you took the local kid from Duke, and yeah, you got some spacing. Going to get a lot of 3s up in Charlotte. I don't know. I like better the teams we're about to get to that swung big. Even though they're players I'm probably going to like less as soon as draft is done, and now they're just players, I'm going to like them less, but I liked them taking swings at the higher upside. And if you strike out, and I'd rather strike out than just have maybe Con Knuppel on my team.
Like if Charlotte had landed 3, I would have been ecstatic. I've been like, oh, this is perfect. You got like VJ and Brandon who are serious, then you can kind of figure out the LaMelo stuff and these type of things. Charlotte does trade Mark Williams to Phoenix.
That's right.
As Phoenix is all shooting guards and centers in a league where everyone says you need as many wings as possible, not the Suns. Centers and shooting guards only for the Phoenix Suns. I've said they were looking for a center in all of the deals they were exploring for Kevin Durant. They were like, by God, we are getting a center. Pretty good work by Charlotte, I thought, actually, to move out for that pick and move.
Yeah, that's a great, quietly a great pickup when we don't really know what the Suns are doing. We'll see what the protection is on it. I hope to God for Phoenix's sake they put some protections on it. But yeah, for a guy that you can't keep Mark Williams around. Like, you traded him already. He's gone, and then they had to get him back. So I think it's pretty good business by Charlotte on that
one. So number 5 is obviously the fascinating one, Ace Bailey.
Yeah.
So I reported early in the process that the Jazz were a team that was interested in moving up to get Bailey. And what I'd heard was that Danny Ainge was really into Ace Bailey. But then when Austin Ainge was hired, all the news was like, nah, he's not really into him. He's more likely to take Fears or maybe like reach for Malawash or go in a different direction, maybe Trey Johnson. And like Trey Johnson was the favorite coming into this. And then it just turns out that no, like that original intel was the on point, and the Ainges were always going to take Ace. And that makes a lot of sense where it's like, if Ainge liked Bailey's approach, he was going to be in on him. And once you decide that this is like, if you were in the business of liking who Ace Bailey is, then it's going to be hard to get you off of him. Ace did not seem thrilled. I think he thought he was going to Washington. Yeah. And instead he winds up in Utah, known as a glamour place for stars to shine as brightly as possible. But like, look, the kid should look at this and go, look at where Donovan Mitchell is. You know, Donovan Mitchell has had a hell of a career already and is still like, even though he may not be top flight, like he's still a star, and he started his career in Utah. Like that possibility is there. I'm kind of like, okay, but like, how's Lauri Markkanen going to feel when that kid's throwing up 35 footers? You know, like it's fine with, I guess, the young guys, because you've got George to be able to kind of, not George, what's his name?
Yeah, Keontae George.
Keontae George. Sorry, I was thinking. I always forget which one it is that he shares with Keyshawn George. It's like, what's the name? So yeah, Keontae George. You got Keontae George for defense, but can't really score. And now you got a scorer. And I guess you got Markkanen, and you still got Kessler. So like, I can kind of see it. I just am very much in the, I don't want to kill the kid too much. It's possible Ace comes in as just like a 37% shooter and actually is just like has 35 and wins Rookie of the Year. Entirely possible. Like Spencer in our chat says Ace Bailey is looking super juicy at 10-1 at DK for Rookie of the Year. I don't mind it. He'll have the opportunities. I don't think that there was a better plan for Utah since they didn't win the lottery, and they're still going to be in a really great position to get one of the really great players from next year's draft.
Yeah, I kind of tentatively have to say Utah is more of a winner in the draft for me, because if I'm going to be consistent with my position, the Jazz need to take some swings. Ace Bailey is a swing. You got a guy that I thought was at 4 guys that were big swings in the draft. You're at 5, you got one of them. So I like the swing there. They later on in the draft trade up for Walter Clayton Jr. I literally had, I'm very high on Walter Clayton Jr. I think he's just a similar to Ace Bailey. He's a bucket. He's got a wet jumper. They can get to any time. I literally have in my notes, maybe Jordan Clarkson. Well, now he's maybe Jordan Clarkson in Utah. It's like a perfect Jordan Clarkson replacement. We know I don't love Jordan Clarkson, the NBA player, but I know he's a guy that teams value having around. I think Clayton brings culture, brings winning culture, and what he just did in Florida, winning a championship there. Gilles Gallant and I both got a 7-1 top 20 hit for Walter Clayton, so I appreciated that as well. I think those are good picks. I think Bailey and Clayton give you a clear NBA skill, both of them the same one with the jumper, and then you see what we go from there. Like, the Jazz aren't going to be any good. They're going to get their shots up. I don't know where the defense comes from. Walker Kessler can't do everything, even if he does stay. But I feel like, all right, Utah's taking a few swings. That's what you should be doing if you're Utah.
Fair enough. Trey Johnson goes 6 to the Wizards, so they do not wind up with Ace Bailey. Trey goes 1 slot later. I like the pick, but I am not trying to be exuberant because you don't want me to be
You
excited
you
about it.
I would like I want happiness. I want happiness and health for you, Matt Moore. Here's what I think is funny about so the Wizards made 2 picks, I believe. It always gets a little hazy because they get all like half the back of the round is traded. So the
Right.
Wizards take Trey Johnson here. I had in my notes for Trey Johnson a range of player comps right smack in the middle, like the median outcome for him, Jordan Poole. So they trade Jordan Poole yesterday and replace him with perhaps young Jordan Poole. They also later pick up Will Riley, a combo forward type player from Illinois. My notes for Will Riley, Kyle Kuzma. So, okay, the Wizards gave away Poole and Kuzma and replaced them with young Poole and young Kuzma. I can't help but laugh at that. I mean, I understand you're high on the development of the young guys, where they're headed. I do think this is interesting that these are a slightly different player types than what the Wizards have been drafting in recent years. They've really emphasized youth and length, and these are different styles of players. I think Washington seems to have a plan. They're doing something. I don't know if it's for me necessarily. It can be for you. I don't want to, poop in the punch bowl or whatever the phrase is. I'll let you follow the Wizards, get their over. Don't go too aggressive on it because they owe their pick to the Knicks. They got to stay in the bottom 8. Trey Johnson, good player. Maybe an upside swing. So Washington needs some shot makers. Maybe it'll be Trey Johnson.
I'm mostly just like happy it wasn't Ace because like I just didn't want Ace.
Yeah, the
They
culture.
need to they need to roll under the radar, and they need to play a very team type of ball. Like one of the things I think is really good about them is they get to kind of let the kids figure out who they are, and that's really important. Like Middleton and CJ know the deal there. And if Middleton stays and if CJ stays, they may trade them by the end. They may trade them like tomorrow. But the vets know the deal. So I like so many of their guys. I like Tristan Vukovic. Vukovic? No. Yes, Vukovic. And I like all their guys. I like AJ Johnson. Like I like all their young players. I'm very high on Keyshawn George.
See, when you like the Wizards and then lead with those 3 names, folks listening or watching at home, this is a Wizards sicko right here. This is not, I like the Wizards. I'm in on Bilal Coulibaly and I'm high on Alex Sarr. No. 3 names you never heard of if you're not watching the Wizards this year. That's who we're high on. So the man has done his work on Washington.
Yeah, I think they'll be sneaky. I probably will take the alt just because I don't want to run into the same problem I had with Detroit last year, where it was like, well, they're not going to make the playoffs. Wah, wah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is Washington, to me, needs to be Detroit to go over, is my fear, that they need to be making the playoffs a la Detroit, because if they're kind of in the middle, then I feel like they just tank one more time, trade away some of the veterans, and maybe wait a year and keep that pick a last time. But, you're fair to at least nibble the alt because you just saw that with Detroit this year and you were all over them.
Yeah, and I will say, like, they're not in Detroit's position, so this might be like Detroit 2 years ago, where like Joe was in on them and that was too early. I just kind of look at them and I go, I think it's possible. Let me put it this way: I think it's possible that they win 28 games, go over, and are still truly awful. But also, I kind of think, man, that this was the break-in year for the tanking. I genuinely kind of wonder, man, if Utah and Washington.
Counterpoint is that there are like 3 awesome prospects next year, and awesome prospects have a real thing about making you tank and not feel so bad about it.
Yeah, but it's not worth it because Utah and the Wizards and Toronto and all these teams pulled out a lot of efforts to be truly awful, and the Sixers got 3 and the Mavericks got 1.
Yeah.
Like it's, even though it's like you shouldn't take it out, it's a probabilistic model for the lottery, but I do kind of think that I get the sense from talking to people, there's kind of just like what's the point, man? Why are we doing this to ourselves and the fans? Everyone hates it. Marketing hates it. Can't sell tickets. The players hate it. No point in competing. Like, it's nasty. So it's kind of like, well, it's all, not, you can also be like, hey, we're going to try and win. 28 games, right? And then have it be okay. We talked about Demon. Raptors going Colin Murray Boyle surprised me a little bit. I'll admit it. I was on here. I had under on Malawash. I had him top 10. I had some alts on him, and something happened in the last couple of weeks where Malawash winds up sliding to 10. Still lands top 10, so I still hit that one. But I thought the Raptors for sure. Part of this is because the Pelicans took Fears at 7, and the word had been that the Pelicans had been like, Fears is going to be off the board, Bailey's going to be off the board. We're going to take, like, everyone thought that they were going to take Malawash, but then Fears slipped. And when Fears slipped, I think that they took him. Pelicans took a lot of grief tonight. Are you as critical as everybody else is of how bad the Pelicans mangled this?
So yes and no. We talked about Jeremiah Fears. I love Jeremiah Fears. He's third on my board. The Pelicans need swings. I should love that. I do love that for them. Then they did the other thing. And the other thing I hate for them. And the other thing is that they traded up from 23 to 13. And look, I'm just going to start by leaving the player they drafted out of this, because even without that, the trade that they made to go from 23 to 13 in a draft where there's kind of like a big soft middle and a lot of people don't really know what order. We all said coming in, going to be kind of wild in the middle. We don't know what order everything's going to go. 23 and 13 are not a huge difference in draft picks. They gave up next year's pick unprotected and is the better pick between their own. Remember, the Pelicans are not good and just missed the playoffs, and the Bucks, who possibly could trade Giannis. And that could be like a top 5 pick if they do that. They traded that pick away unprotected to move up 10 spots. Other teams traded away, like I mentioned the Walter Clayton deal. I think they traded like 2 second-round picks to move up 3-4 spots for that. This is like basically double the move, but they gave away what very well could end up being a top 10 or higher pick. It could be the Mavs pick next year. That's the sort of pick that just moved up to be number 1 in a draft with multiple superstars at the top. You cannot give that sort of asset to move up. We again, going cross sport here, we see it in the NFL. We see the teams that are like, I got to go get my quarterback. I got to go get my guy. And they trade away the future picks. It's just not a good idea to move up a little bit. It shows overconfidence in your evaluation of a player. And they get Derek Queen, who we already know I don't like. So that compounds the matter. I don't think Queen, for me, is barely a first-round pick. If anything, I know I'm very low on him compared to the masses. I don't really understand how he fits with Zion, who you can't really trade and tank now because you don't have your pick for next year. You just traded it away. Queen and Zion don't go together. Like we talked yesterday about, well, maybe they're going for Malawash. That kind of works with Zion. They sort of fit together. Queen and Zion fit together at Mardi Gras. That's how they fit together. I don't understand why you'd want those two. I love the Fears pick. The trade up for Queen was the worst move of the night pretty easily for me.
So let's imagine Zion is once again unavailable.
Sure.
And your lineup, I
can imagine it.
Yeah. And your lineup is Fears, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy III, Derek Queen, Yves Missi.
What? No, Jordan Poole erasure?
Off the bench.
Okay.
Jordan Poole's your microwave scorer off the bench on like $40 million.
Okay. I mean, we both know that's not how this works in the NBA. He's probably going to be starting, but we'll go with that. He's the 6th man. Where are we going with this? How do we feel about this team you just gave me?
I mean, that makes it see Queen next to Missi makes a little bit more sense to me.
Okay, that's fair. Queen and Missi makes more sense to me.
Yep.
Missi and Herb Jones are the defenders on the team.
Yep.
They're the only defenders on the team. Fears is not getting drafted for his defense. Queen is going to be a bad defender. They've got you got Jordan Poole. Like there are not defenders. Trey's a good defender. Okay, yep, Trey's a good defender. So maybe you have Missi as the starter, and maybe you have 3 positive defenders, and then hope that the other 2 guys are your offensive guys. And then what? Trey is your star 2-way guy. That's the hope.
Yeah. I mean, they really believe Trey Murphy III is like the guy.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Turby and I have long been high on Trey, but that's real high on Trey. As a two-way star wing is a big step up for him.
Agree.
Maybe Fears is Darius Garland. That was my comp for him. Maybe Derek Queen is. Maybe he's the center. Maybe he's, people called him also Jokic. I think we're going to do the next Jokic thing like we've done the next Draymond thing for the last decade. There's no next Draymonds. There's not going to be a next Jokic either. But we're going to say, oh, big man, that can pass. I literally just did that with Danny Wolf like 8 minutes ago. I don't see that with Queen. I don't like him fitting on this team. But I agree, next to Messi, between Herb Jones and Trey and Messi, it makes a lot more sense.
When you move the Zion piece to the side, all of a sudden you kind of go like, oh, okay.
But then you move Zion to the side, meaning another team, and you can't tank because your team's going to be terrible, and you just traded your pick away to get him.
You also can't trade him right now because he's got a lawsuit hanging over him for sexual assault, and it's like that's a nightmarish situation. Like, we have to be honest about that, and that's not something that we should. I don't like talking about the basketball side of those things, but that's part of the equation as well. Unsurprising that Spurs get Carter Bryant, who everyone was very high on, and land him at 14. Unsurprising the Thunder get Thomas Sorber, who was like, that was a draft Nick player, and they wind up just hanging around. I will say some folks are kind of looking at that and being like, so what does that mean for Hartenstein? Yeah. So that will be something I think to watch.
Fair. I mean, I think it at least means Hartenstein has at most a year left, but I think we kind of knew that anyways, because that's when the J-Dub and Chet contracts are going to kick into the past the rookie extension. So I think probably you just want a championship. You pay the bill a little bit on Hartenstein, and then this is the 2-year plan replacement for Hartenstein. I predictably, I guess maybe not predictably, I don't like big men usually in the draft. I like Sorber. I thought that was one of the better picks that I liked. I thought the Spurs were the draft winner. Obviously, getting Cooper Flagg, you win the draft. But the Spurs getting Dylan Harper at number 2, who I think is number 1 pick in a lot of drafts. Carter Bryant, I had 7th on my board. They just lock right into Carter Bryant, who I think is an absolutely perfect fit next to Wemby. Like the exact sort of guy, if I'm right about Harper, that he is a young Harden type. So you're going to have a ball-dominant guard, and you got Wemby. What do you want? You want some low-usage 3-and-D guys surrounding them with. I already like Devin Vassell in that sort of role. Carter Bryant is a lower-usage, more defensive type. He is Kawhi Leonard size. He has a 7-foot wingspan. He was great at the combine, great sprint, great vertically, has huge hands. He positions himself well. He has a pretty good-looking jumper. He didn't play a lot at Arizona, bafflingly to many Arizona fans, but he already is the role that he's going to be on this team. I think, too, that Carter Bryant with the defense, Devin Vassell, Wemby, Harper, they're getting a lot of talent there. They also quietly picked up, I think maybe in the last week, Sean Sweeney, assistant defensive coach from the Mavs. A lot of people are like, yeah, that's why the Mavs defense has been so good. Sean Sweeney, he comes over now to the Spurs staff. I'm starting to believe a little bit. Not quite on Spurs are going to win the title next year. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. I think this defense makes a leap. I think Carter Bryant can be part of that. I think they set up Wemby for Defensive Player of the Year on lock if he's healthy. I think the Spurs, with these guys, have enough talent now, especially as the West separates a little bit. I think the Spurs are a playoff team next year. I thought they were the winner of the draft tonight.
Rich get richer, I suppose, is the lesson there. Okay, so I don't want to go through the rest of the picks each individually. Yang Hansen being the shocker of the first round.
Have you heard of Yang Hansen before tonight? I had not. I'll be honest.
I had heard that it was like he had a promise in the second round. That was like what I'd heard.
The Blazers are at 11 and trade down from 11 to 16, where they still get him. Presumably, meaning they were thinking about just taking him at 11 and taking him there in the lottery. Yang Hansen, I'm pretty sure that's like my second or third cousin. I've got some Hansens somewhere out there. Yang Hansen to me sounds like an Asian smorgasbord fusion restaurant that I would eat at back home in North Dakota. That's what I know about Yang Hansen. I'm gonna have to do some research there. I saw somebody reputable posted that, again, here's our third time in our 30 minutes so far. They called him, guess what? Chinese Jokic. They're everywhere. We got Jokic's all over the draft board. There's gonna be so many Jokic's in the NBA now. Hashtag blessed.
It was a Nugget source that said that. I have a strong feeling I know who that is. So I don't want to go through the rest of the board. Some hits. Heat getting Jokic was pretty good.
That one a lot. I thought that was very, very derogatory to me, which I understand, kind of stereotyping, but that I was not high on Jokic. Really nice fit to the Heat. I really like Jace Richardson to the Magic at 25. I think that's a really nice pickup for them. Really fits what they need. The pick that the Blazers traded down from at 11, that was the Grizzlies for Cedric Coward. Coward's a guy I talked about as kind of one of the unknowns in the draft and a high riser. The Grizzlies stay hunting that big wing. They want that wing so bad. Coward, I think, is a nice swing. RIP to me, I had top 10 plus 500, so we got hooked on that one at 11. But Coward, Carter Bryant, Thomas Sorber, Jace Richardson, and Jokic, those were the picks I had kind of outside the top 10 that stood out the most to me.
What's funny, I think, is I had Fears top 5. I think if it wasn't Ace, I don't think it was Trey. I think the Jazz are going to take Fears.
Yeah,
I would have hit them. And so
I'm bummed by that one. I was right on Utah taking the big swing, and I picked the wrong guy because I had Ace earlier, missed that one, and then Ace was off the board, so I had to go with Fears at 5. So bummed by that. I also want to note Atlanta. They're the team, so they trade 22 away for Porzingis. They end up getting 22 or 23 back. They're the team that traded down with the Pelicans. So they get the Pelicans pick next year, and they got Asa Newell, who I actually found myself liking. We talked about him, I think, offline a little bit. Asa Newell from Georgia is very Marvin Bagley coded. Like, you see him and you're like, oh, Marvin Bagley. He kind of has, the springy jump, springy hair situation. Like, he looks like John Collins because you're a Hawks team now. I think he's not those things. I actually think Asa Newell is a 4. He's not quite big enough to be a 5, but he looks like a really good defender and a really good shot blocker. I think he is a more balanced version of what you would have wanted a Bagley or Collins to be. And I think if he's good, if Porzingis is healthy, I think that's kind of an interesting combo there and just another name to add into the mix. And of course, they got the draft pick out of that. I'm looking. What's it say?
Bulls, Asenge at 12. Nothing. I'm just, again, going to let you go ahead. It wouldn't have mattered who they would have drafted, but I'll go ahead and let you go here.
Yeah, I in my notes, I have marked in caps winner and loser a few places. Here's one. Loser. My draft experience, as always. Bulls 12, Noah Asenge. Wolves 17, Johan Beringer. I mean, it is what, again, I haven't been able to study the international guys a lot. I will say this year, I'm looking forward to seeing the international guys at Summer League probably as much as anyone, just because I didn't get to see too much from them. For the Wolves to take a French center, I mean, just obviously I'm not going to get super excited about that. I was not thrilled with what I saw briefly from him. Asenge, yeah, I see the hype. I understand what's there. The Bulls are a blank canvas. I'm honestly not too mad about it. Like, I don't know enough about him. His over-under was like 9.5. So I think they were kind of expecting him to be a possible top 10 pick. This seems like it's in range for him. I don't know enough to love or hate it. I don't hate it. It wouldn't have been my choice, but I knew the Bulls were going for big men. Frankly, I would prefer this swing than Queen or some of the other options personally. And I like here in Illinois, the college team is taking a very international flavor. They had Yakuchonis this year. They've had like 3 or 4 really high recruits for next year that I think we're starting to see with NIL that European and international players are coming for the college money before they go to the NBA, which is interesting. Guys that would be playing in Europe, they're coming over. They're taking the college money in the NIL. And I think Illinois is doing pretty good at that. And we're seeing maybe Chicago with the same thing. They got Modest Buzelis last year. I mean, Modest Buzelis with pairing him now with Asenge. I think just the kind of the culture and the look at, okay, there are a lot of prospects out there to bring in. Let's see how these guys pair together. I think I'm intrigued by that at least. And, what else are the Bulls doing? Let's find out if Asenge is any good.
All right, we're a betting podcast, so we're going to talk about Rookie of the Year. Kind of a programming note, not planning anything for second round. There's going to be a bunch of trades tomorrow, is what was forecast, I think it was Jake Fisher, but I'm not sure. Regardless, unless there's a superstar that gets moved, probably no buckets from us tomorrow. If there is one, we'll do an emergency pod and we'll talk about it tomorrow night. Let's talk Rookie of the Year. So Cooper Flagg, I'm going to take it from one popular book that likes proponents of sports teams fighting one another. And they've got Cooper Flagg minus 180, Trey Johnson's plus 700, Ace Bailey plus 750. So you got Flagg, Trey, Ace. It's like the tier is Flagg, obviously, and then Trey and Ace. And then we drop to Harper at 12-1 in his own tier. And then we move to 25-1 VJ, and then Derek Queen next at 30-1, Fears at 35-1, Knipple 35-1, Jaeger Demon. Who what's the number on Brandon not betting Jaeger Demon? Yakachonis is actually 60-1, Murray Boyle 75-1, Asenge 100-1, and then Jace Richardson actually is in that 100-1 group with Malawash, Danny Wolf, and Coward. So the history kind of says that we want a top 5 pick. We definitely want somebody in the top 10, probably a top 5. When you look at this board, what stands out to you?
Yeah, just real quick, like the Rookie of the Year rules in 1 minute or less. You want points. Everyone since 2004 but Brogdon, 14.7 points a game. I had to say 14.7 because that's Castle this year, but effectively you need 15 points a game or more. You want PRA. We've argued about it before. Points, rebounds, and assists. 18 of the last 21 rookies of the year led in PRA among all rookies. The other 3 were second, and third. So you want the whole thing. It's not defense. It's not BAPM. It's not wins. 4 of the last 17 were a top 8 seed. So you don't even have to make the playoffs. They're averaging like an 11 seed, 30-ish wins. And then the key thing is what you said. Since the 50s, 4 NBA rookies of the year outside the top 10. 4 ever. Outside the top 5, 13 out of 65. Steph Castle, number 4 pick. So he fit the trend as well. Since 1990, about 2/3 of all rookies of the year are top 3 picks. Almost half are just the number 1 pick. So don't go too far down the board. Don't go too crazy looking at sleepers. Let's go down the board and look for sleepers. It's our tradition on draft night. Yay!
You're absolutely right. We're always like, what about this guy? And then we get to the fall and it's like, definitely not that guy. The most brutal one last year was Reed Shepherd, who I still think would have had a chance if it wasn't for those nasty Jalen Green minutes toking up everything and him actually having a pretty good season. Phoenix Sun, by the way, Jalen Green. Okay. So look, immediately.
Let's obviously we're gonna talk about Flagg. Let's come back to Flagg. Like that's the favorite. Let's talk about who are some of the other options. If it's not him, who catches your eye? Because I'll just lead with this. I talked about it's not just points, it's PRA. Flagg's gonna have the R and the A. He's gonna get rebounds and assists, and he's gonna score. My biggest problem finding some other person than Cooper Flagg is who's getting the PRA, who's getting more than just points. We got these bucket dudes like Ace, we got Fears, we got Trey Johnson. Even I look further down the board, Walter Clayton Jr. What if he just gets to chuck for Utah all the time? It's points. It's all points, but I don't really find guys that are going to give me the full profile like we know Flagg probably will. So I've got a couple names I'll give, but did anyone stand out for you?
I mean, obviously, Trey Johnson.
Obviously.
I also like Trey. I was going to like Trey if he was in Utah too. So I will say that this is not just that. Can we do this by wingspan? Like, is that maybe like the best way to do this is to start with wingspan? Because if we're going to say you need assists and you need rebounds, you got to be big enough to be able to get over the defenders to pass, and you got to be long enough on your reach to be able to grab the board.
So I think that you need, we may be moving the direction you're saying. Historically, we tend to need rebounds or assists because either you're a big man and you get 8, 9, 10 rebounds, and that's good enough, even though you didn't have assists, or you're a passer and you get 6, 7, 8 assists a game, and that's good enough, even though you didn't get rebounds. More lately is the Paolo mode, right? Like where you're getting like 5 or 6 rebounds, 4, 5, 6 assists, and you're kind of rounding it out. And that is, again, that's what Cooper Flagg is going to be. PRA, Steph Castle actually broke the mold. All but 3 guys in the last 2 decades have had at least 25 points, rebounds, assists. Steph was at 15, 4, and 4. So just under, but we know it was a pretty weak rookie class. Lately, the last 5 rookie of the year before Castle, 18.7 rebounds, 5 assists. That's the line you're kind of looking at. Does 18, 7, 5 sound to you like a Cooper Flagg line? Because that sounds a lot like a Cooper Flagg line to me.
Cooper Flagg line. Yeah, it does.
But who else? Who else is like I mark Con Knipple. All right, he can score. Where's the rebounds and assists? Like 14, 3, and 3, maybe 16, 3, and 3. But I can't really get past the 3 and 3 too much. I don't mind 40 to 1 because it's long, but I have a hard time getting there. Trey, same sort of situation. Even if we get to like 20 points, maybe, which is really squinting. Where's the rebounds or assists going to come from? Ace, maybe the rebounds are a little bit more there for him. You're just going to miss a lot of shots. I like Fears, obviously. I think Fears sets up somewhat to Castle in that I could see him make more of a late push if they start to tank later in the season. He gets a little more playing time. I looked as I was prepping for this tonight. I made my notes from this podcast last year. My notes said, Stephon Castle, possible rookie of the year, but don't buy early. Come back midseason, buy the midseason swoon. Guess what, man? I was watching football then. I forgot to buy the midseason swoon. I didn't buy the midseason swoon. I didn't get it. But I think Fears maybe could be that guy. Clayton is 200 to 1. I don't know. Seems a little long when it's a guy that just won a championship and is going to get a lot of shots up, probably in Utah for a likely tanking team. Who can stop you from nibbling a 200 to 1 for a couple bucks or something like that? I know I ragged a day or two ago on our podcast. Don't bet Flagg. It's not Flagg. You can't invest at minus 400 on Flagg. That's true. It's not minus 400 anymore. Minus 180. I think it's Flagg. I think at minus 180, you just bet Cooper Flagg.
I will say Harper's 13 to 1 in the market.
But how does he get to the numbers on that team? Who has to clear out? Do we need a Fox trade for him to win Rookie of the Year? Do we need a Wemby injury for him to win? Where's the numbers? Because I love Harper, and he's a number 1 talent to me, but where does he get the numbers from?
He scores in the non-Fox minutes because he's going to be like, what, 3rd or 4th on the depth chart on the scouting report, right?
He's going to be, assuming not a big move from the Spurs, points per game. Dylan Harper will be what rank on the Spurs? Wemby is ahead. Fox is ahead. Vassell is ahead. Castle is ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this might be one where I like it at 13 to 1. I'll go ahead and bet that because I don't know that they're going to look the same. I don't know if the roster is going to be the same. Like Fox will be there and Wemby will be there. And Castle, but we don't know. So I think that there might be some more room. Plus, just like I think his ability to manipulate pick and roll will be good enough for him to be able to figure out the non-Fox minutes with Wemby to be able to boost some of those assist opportunities. I think it's worth at least looking at with kind of where he's at. Because like I'm not. And again, you know, I'm going to be real cautious with these because I'm not a draft guy, but I'm not super excited about taking the long shots, not only because we know that they don't hit, but I don't know who's going to be able to get the opportunities. So like a good one is like Colin Murray Boyles, like looks like, oh man, maybe he could just like fill up the stat sheet, but it's like, man, it's like Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl.
He's not going to score.
Yeah. And like, he's not going to, yeah. So it's like,
no,
Whomst. You're right. Whomst will have the opportunity. And the answer here is, you're right. It's Cooper Flagg minus 180. That's
there is a book out there. We talked a lot about Derek Queen. If you are a king at your book, you can bet on things like points per game for Cooper Flagg or rebounds per game. Let me give you the lines and let's talk through some of these. There's a few props. There's one I'm interested in here. So Cooper Flagg over under 16.9 points a game, over under 6.1 rebounds per game. Here's his stats from Duke last year. He played just under 31 minutes. He averaged 19.2 points in 31 minutes, 7.5 rebounds, just over 4 assists. So 19 and 7.5 in 31 minutes. He'll probably play a little more than 31 minutes in the NBA against NBA players, admittedly. Can we go over under effectively 17 points a game, over under 6 rebounds a game? We're probably not going to bet those right now. They're minus 150 in each side. I don't need that sitting out there for 10 months. Do you have a lean on either of those points or rebounds on Cooper?
So here's the thing. Davis is the primary scorer. They still have the bigs like Lively and Gafford, who they just extended. This is the other problem. If they bring in D'Angelo Russell, is he going to touch the ball?
I have to assume if you have Cooper Flag, you're going to let him have the ball. Like, he should be leading. He is probably a better offensive initiator right now than D'Angelo Russell. My opinion doesn't matter. Dallas's opinion matters. I'm scared. I don't want D'Lo there, but it's a real concern. There's going to, like, D'Lo maybe just gets traded midseason if he looks good. Davis misses a month because it's Anthony Davis. Like, I think there's going to be games. You can bet at one book right now, Cooper Flag to record a triple-double this season. I don't think that's out of the question because there's going to be games where there are dudes not there, and it's Cooper do everything tonight. And I think he could do everything some nights.
I think maybe one of the questions here is, can Fears be enough of a playmaker?
Wait. I want to stay on Flag for a minute. I got a couple more props at you here. I didn't get an answer. Over under 17 points per game or 6 rebounds a game. Do you have a lean? Just give me an instinctive lean on both of those. 17 points.
I lean under on both. Like, for me, it sounds like 16, 6, and 6.
Okay. So the 6 rebounds, right about the number. I think 6 assists is probably high, but doesn't really matter for this. Here's why I'm asking. You can bet 18 points per game, 6 rebounds per game as a combo right now at plus 285. I think that's interesting. So 15 points, 5 rebounds for a rookie. We've had that 25 times this century. It's 2025, so that's like once a year. 15 and 5. We need 18 and 6. Here's some recent rookies and the lines. Nobody this year. Chet, 16.5 and 8. Not quite there on the points. Chet's not a big scorer. Wemby, 21 and over 10. He clears. Paolo Banchero, 20 points, 7 rebounds. He clears. Scotty, not quite in the points, 15, but 7.5. He got there in the rebounds. Cade Cunningham, almost 17 and nearly 6 rebounds. Evan Mobley, 15 and 8. He cleared the rebounds, not quite the points. Zion Williamson, 22 and 6. He cleared the mark. DeAndre Ayton, 16 and 10. Luka at Dallas, 21 and 8. Kuzma cleared 16. No, not quite, I guess, in the points, 16 and 6. We need 18 points. That's tough. 18's a touch high, but plus 285 for that one. And if you really like Cooper Flag, if you really think that this dude is like a generational, I'm going to be a star right away, this is asking a lot. But the escalator available is 23 points, 6 rebounds at 45 to 1. 23 points. LeBron James, rookie LeBron James, 21 points a game. Rookie Melo, 21 points a game. Rookie Blake Griffin, who's actually a sophomore, 22 points a game. Rookie Embiid, 20 a game as a sophomore. So maybe not on the 23.
Maybe not.
If you want to bet Cooper Flag right now, if you are the type that would like to invest at minus 180 and let it sit for 10 months, I honestly think that's a good price now for Cooper Flag. If you like a little bit more aggressive, I honestly think 18 and 6 at plus 285 is very much in play. And you probably don't need the 65 games. So you get some injury protection there in case something happens. 18 and 6 plus 285. That to me, if I have to make a bet, because we're Action Network and we're making bets tonight, if I have to make a Cooper Flag bet, that is the bet that I would make tonight of the options.
Okay.
Jeremiah Fears. What about him? What Jeremiah Fears does what for Rookie of the Year?
Let's say they clear out the roster. They move Clarkson and Sexton. and they give the keys to Fierce.
Wait. Am I missing names, or are you on Utah's roster and Fierce is on the Pelicans?
I am messing that up. That is my bad. It's been a long day. You're right.
That's all right.
Pels,
okay, so
yeah,
but I
like,
already gave you Walter Clayton in Utah.
Yeah.
What if they clear the roster and it's Walter Clayton 200-1? Walter Clayton. Okay, Fears in the Pelicans. Are you making the same case?
No, you're right. I can't get there on Fears in the Pelicans because he won't have the usage because the ball is going to be in the hands of Trey most of the time. Like Trey Murphy will have the ball most of the time.
What if, well, the Pelicans can't really tank because we talked about it. Zion's hurt. Trey's hurt because he's had some injuries as well. Mm-hmm. And the Pelicans kind of like, I don't know, maybe there's something protection we don't know about yet where they can keep their pick.
The only other one, if you want a long shot, here's the one. If you want a long shot, I think it's Malawash.
Oof. You're going to have to sell me on this one.
Okay, so listen. So Mark Williams obviously has injury concerns, right?
Right.
So if we're talking points and rebounds, a pick and roll center with Jalen Green and Book. Jalen will will give the bigs the ball. Like he will. He didn't want to give it to Şengün because Şengün's a different type of big. But I have very little doubt there. I think it is very possible that he just plays a ton and he puts up numbers and he's, average 8 rebounds last year. Why can't he get the 15 and 8?
Where is he getting 15 from? I can get there on 8 if he's just like the starting center and somebody's got a rebound. 8's still a little high. He's real thin. He's going to get pushed around against real rebounders. I cannot see 15 points from him. It's got to just be lobs and finishes, and like that's his buckets. There's no way the threes are there already as a rookie. Can I interest you in? We're in the era of the double big now. What if you're just playing both? What if it's Malawash and Mark Williams? And what if Mark Williams is the guy that's like taking the bulky center and Malawash has the big rebounding edge now at the 4 and gets some of those advantages that way? Do you think there's any chance they play both together?
Maybe. Their roster's really weird now.
It's super weird.
Are we going to, what are the odds that we wind up talking ourselves into Cedric Coward?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you want to do a Cedric Coward bet, you have to also be betting against the Grizzlies. I think you have to think Ja is traded or out, and now you need usage, and it's Coward.
Guys, how often because this actually this is one reason I don't think about Trey. How often do you see spot up shooters actually win this award?
Very rare. That's
and
the PRA thing. Yeah, you gotta fill it up. It's not just a shooter.
Yeah, you gotta have usage. You gotta have the ball in your hands.
Yep.
So who are those guys?
Right. And again, that's kind of part of the rule. That's the PRA rule. Once we spell it out a little bit more, is I forget now looking back, but it's something like 7 of the last 8 rookies of the year or something like that have been kind of the primary initiator on the team, which Castle wasn't until he was late in the season and made the push and won Rookie of the Year. So again, I think Cooper Flagg probably is that. We'll call it the engine of the offense. It's probably him. Maybe it's Dylan Harper. It could get to be Dylan Harper. I think, Matt, if you like Dylan Harper, I understand it's the number 2 pick at 1,300, and that seems like good value. Unless the Spurs really clear out the roster, which I don't know why they would right now, I think that number gets longer. Like, why don't we get a month into the season and Dylan's barely even like playing behind Fox and Castle and all the veterans and having to earn it? And Cooper looks awesome. And like, it isn't by far the most likely outcome. We are like November 1 and Cooper Flagg is minus 2,000 to be Rookie of the Year because he's been awesome for 10 games. And it's like, yeah, it's over, right? That's by far the most likely outcome.
Yep. You're right.
That's when you bet Dylan, because now he's like 50-1 or something. So I think if you want Cooper Flagg, okay, let's say this. I want to bet Cooper Flagg Rookie of the Year. Am I going to get a better price than minus 180?
No.
I don't think so either. Unless he gets hurt and misses the start of the season, in which case you shouldn't be betting him anyway.
Yep.
I think you bet him now if you want him, and otherwise, you might have to sit this one out. You might have to nibble a 0.1 unit on a couple long shot names that you know are probably going to lose, and otherwise just maybe not win this award. So I think if you want Flag, I think you bet him now. I think minus 180 is light. To be honest, it's minus 400 another book. I think it's a little light.
This feels wrong that you and I are like, yeah, we got to bet the minus 180 on Rookie of the Year on opening night. This was wrong. I hate this. All right. That's going to do it for Buckets. I appreciate you guys being with us. You can catch more of Brandon's draft takes on Twitter at Wheaton Brando. We'll be back. I'm leaving for some time. I have to go away for a while. I've done a lot of Buckets. I'll be back next week. We'll do some shows. We'll talk about free agency. We'll get into all the moves. A lot of stuff coming up. We'll talk about the reactions to all those. We'll watch the market. We'll break it all down here. My thanks to Wheaton Brando. This is probably Brandon's last appearance for a bit until we get into preseason, because Brandon's got to go do NFL stuff, and
I'm leaving too.
He's leaving too.
I'm going to the dungeons of North Dakota, getting off the map for a while.
My thanks to Brandon, as always, for helping me out during NBA season. He's such a gift for us here, and especially for bettors, as you've noticed with his ROI. All right. Thanks to David Payne, our producer. Thanks to Gifford Gould. We'll see you guys again next time. Thanks for joining us. Till next time. Let's get buckets.